We're here today with Khai Wu, who is fighting at the PFL Championship on November 24th, Washington, D.C. at the Anthem. Khai, I guess we can run right into this by starting with the obvious big fight coming up. How is everything going? How's camp?
Great. Busy and can't complain. This is every camp you're gonna get bumps and bruises along the way. That's how you know you're getting ready for a fight. You know what I mean? The nerves and the edge is slowly building. There's always, you're in a fight when you start having doubts, at night, and then you go to bed, you wake up, you're feeling great, you had a good training session. So all that's happening. So it's going according to plan, I'd say.
Are you the type of guy when you talk about, kind of being kept up at night, are you thinking about kind of almost game planning, like what if I do this? What if he does that? Is that the kind of thing that keeps you up?
Not anymore. It used to. Now what keeps me up is just more oh man, it's another fight around the corner. There's not as much, like you think about the sacrifices that you're making. You're like, I can't really have time to hang out with family. I can't really go out and eat this food, eat that food. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm getting ready for the job. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It just kind of lets you know that you're getting ready. So I don't mind that feeling so much, because when I'm not having this feeling, I'm like, man, I wish I have a fight. I wish I had a fight. When I'm eating good food with friends and family and spending time with them, you always think of the opposite. So the grass is always kind of greener.
Well, I guess the good news is you get this one in November. There's still the holidays ahead, so you'll get to spend some time with the family and eat the food you want to eat.
Right.
Just to clarify and to double check, this one is at bantamweight.
Yes, correct. This one will be a showcase bout at 135.
Now, the PFL doesn't have a bantamweight division, so how are you approaching this? Like, do you see this as a one-off? Do you have the option to come back? Do you think, hey, maybe I put on a good show, I go to featherweight, maybe for next season? What's the approach?
I do have a multi-fight contract, so I am locked in. It's not just one and done. That's the good news. I think they want all signs point to that they want to have a 35 division. So I think a little bit of weight on my shoulders to try to put on a good performance, give them a reason why the 135-pound division is so exciting. Not that I need to give them one. I think they know, but it doesn't hurt to have some eyes on the division. You know what I mean? Especially with all these rumors swirling on with, Bellator and Dubai and whatnot. So who knows? But I just know that I want to put on a show for everyone to see, especially on that championship card. That is a huge opportunity. A lot of fighters would love to be in that spot. So I just want to make sure I'm not, um, not maximizing my chance there. It's really my time to shine. So I definitely want to hone in, and hopefully, if all things go well, maybe they introduce a 135-pound division sooner than later.
Well, it would certainly be interesting. It's been one of the hotter divisions in MMA for the past couple of years, regardless of promotion, right? And you fought for Bellator in the past. You fought for Uriah Faber's A1 Combat, I believe. How did you wind up linking up with the PFL?
They reached out about a year ago. I honestly, I don't even. I think it's maybe longer than a year. I can't exactly remember, but I just remember they reached out. They touched base. They wanted to kind of keep open lines of communication, and they just wanted me to have a little bit more fights before they reach back out. And I think I had a couple more, and then things kind of lined up, and it wasn't like a long deal. It was just always, keeping my doors open, chatting with them. Hey, what's your plan? Do you want to fight? Do you want to do this and that? Just being very upfront with them. And the next thing you know, they wanted to move to they wanted to make the move to make that signing. And then, next thing you know, I woke up to Instagram, a bunch of people tagging me and stuff. And I'm like, oh, wow, I'm with PFL. How cool is that? So it was very cool.
Well, they're definitely blowing up. I have no doubt you had a bit of a public profile before, and I think it's probably been done to death. Why? And you're probably tired of talking about it, but the whole Mark Zuckerberg connection, right? Where you were training him and working with him. I guess I'll ask you about that real quick. I mean, what was that experience like? Do you still train with him? How did that all come together?
Yeah, I mean, I completely understand. It's like, what random MMA fighter, especially without a big name, right? Like, I'm not in a huge league before, or after that being in a huge league, I met him and stuff like that. So I do understand how that's very interesting. Even myself, sometimes I ask myself the same question, like, how did I get here? But it was very interesting. And honestly, it's a little boring, because realistically, I met him among I'm assuming another string of instructors met with him, but I think my dad jokes, my personality, those got to him probably the most, and he probably liked the personality, and that's kind of how we connected. And although my fighting shows that I do have some losses on the record, I don't think my coaching. Um, I don't present myself as a coach. However, I have been coaching and teaching alongside while I was fighting professionally. So I definitely think that goes a little under the radar. And if you know me, I coach pretty well, but on social media, I'm always like, I'm a fighter first. So I think I'm slowly branching onto that. I'm also a trainer, but that's kind of how it happened. I think just decent coaching, good communication. That's kind of how it all went down. Um, it was really cool. Like, I mean, what can I say about the guy? Like, it was a very, when I teach him, it's like a martial arts instructor and a student. So there is no, it's not like I work for him at Meta and I go to this, he's walking around. I don't feel that. It's just more like, you have fun. It's like you and I, if we did, jujitsu or, I held pads for you, something like that. You get along. There's no real, like, there's no argument. There's no reason for that. It's just trying to have fun and learn and train. So I think that's how it was in the beginning. So I don't feel the same amount of pressure maybe as employees or other people do, so that's kind of nice.
I love that you said the dad jokes probably sealed the deal. I'll ask you one more about that one, and then we can let that dead horse lie. The whole Musk Zuckerberg thing blows up. Were you surprised by that? And it's probably never happening, but how do you think he would have done?
um it was, well, I said this before, but the only reason why I say it is because I got clickbaited one time about, they said, I forgot the article, but they said Zuckerberg's coach not sure if he's going to win. And I specifically said, I'm not sure if the fight's going to happen, but for some reason they just quoted not sure. Um, I want to defer back to what kind of he said, because he did say he wanted to move on to someone a little bit more professional. I think it was really serious. No joke. It was very, very serious at a certain point. Like, we were getting ready for him. You know what I mean? Like, we were bringing in big guys to emulate all this and that. But with that being said, I mean, you could even see Adesanya posted a video recently on his YouTube channel of him training with Mark and Volk. And, I'm in the video training with all of them, hanging out. So it was really interesting because we were, bringing in some big guns to actually make this happen. But I think realistically what happened was, and this is no biasness, I'm just telling you what I really think is, Elon probably got with some like GSP, Danaher. Those guys are smart. Those guys are super smart. They're not you can't be GSP and be a bad coach. You know what I mean? Like, I think they realistically told him, they're like, look, your cardio is horrible. You're, 53. This is just not a good fight, especially with someone like Mark. Don't take it. You are so valuable and you have so much more knowledge to give in life. And it just makes no sense. And I think he kind of, realized that himself, especially having like neck surgery before this and that. So that fight's not happening anymore, because I think Mark really wanted to move on, regardless of what Elon said. Mark is really looking at, like, I think, I don't know, he likes competing. He wants to compete in jiu-jitsu again. Maybe he wants to fight. I have no idea, but just whatever Mark kind of wants, that's what I'm there for, to just help him kind of get ready for that. Give him that look. You know what I mean? That's kind of what we're going towards. But last I checked, he posted on Threads he was actually interested in still competing. So, we might get him ready for something soon. Just not Elon. So I don't want to put any more fuel to that fire, if that makes sense.
Fair enough. It would be interesting to see him compete. Obviously, he has done the BJJ. Let's go back to your fight then. Phil Karakappa. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but obviously he's going to be your opponent November 24th. From what you have seen of him, what's your take on him? What does he bring to the table that you got to watch out for?
He's got more fights than me, more amateur fights than me. He's got more pro fights than me. So fights overall, he has more fights, more experience. He's fought at 45, I believe, and won a belt there. And so that means he's bounced around. He's a bigger 35er, if that makes sense. He's a little bit taller than me. So he has a lot of advantages on me. Now, where I think I level the playing field is with fight IQ. I'm not saying he's not a smart fighter, but my specialty is dealing with someone that has that more experience. It's the fact that I get to go into a fight. I'm not saying I'm the underdog, but it's not like it's a guaranteed win. You know what I mean? It's not like he's 0-5 and I'm going in there with a full breakfast and still gonna like, oh, I'll knock him out. No, he's very, very tough. He's won belts, multiple belts. So my job is I'm grateful that I have an opponent this tough. So now every day I go to the gym, it's not just with a sense of purpose, but I got to make sure everything's perfect. Everything's tightened. My strength and conditioning, my power output, my speed, my timing, my focus, everything's got to be sharp because it doesn't matter how good I do right now. It doesn't matter what I say because come fight, and I need to be ready for all the problems he's going to try to cause me. And during that whole process, I get to level up. If my competition and opposition was very weak, there's no necessity for me to level up. It's just I can just get the job done. However, I am just grateful that I have such a tough opponent. I'm a huge comic book fan, and the way I look at it is like this is an Avengers level threat. You need everyone to get together to kind of deal with this level of threat. And by everyone getting together, everyone's going to be sharper and have to be on point. And not only do I get on better, my coaches and teammates they all get better for it too because they kind of have to sharpen up by fighting a certain way or maybe helping me specifically. And I think some of my teammates seeing this opportunity for me at PFL might open up more doors for them too. So I definitely think they're really inclined to motivate me and train hard to push me. You know what I mean? So I'm definitely leveling up a lot after this fight.
Well, I like the little analogy there with the Avengers, and I'm kind of curious about the teamwork aspect because you are a coach yourself, because you're an instructor yourself. How does that integration with your coaches kind of go? Because I'm just curious if you understand them better, what they're trying to get at, because you have experience on that side.
Yeah, it's actually very helpful because when I am a coach to Mark or whoever it is, I have to do what I'm saying because if I don't, then it's like, hypocrisy. You know what I mean? So I have to constantly remind myself, and I get to do a lesson of my own. If you can't explain something to a 7-year old, then you don't really understand what you're trying to say yourself, right? That's a common saying to a certain degree. And I do agree. If you can't teach someone and articulate it a certain way, maybe you don't understand it all that well yourself. Not saying you don't have a certain understanding, level of understanding. However, when I do teach him and some of the other, my personal, like, the amateur guys and sharing thoughts with them, helping them with their striking or grappling, I do have to remember what I was taught from my higher ups and coaches and stuff. So it reinforces my brain to constantly, remember these moves. The problem is it's a bandwidth, like you can know all the moves in the world, but can you pull it out at the right time? So by teaching that, it constantly stays fresh in my mind. So that way, when it comes down to the fight or sparring or, training, I can pull those tricks out of the bag, you know what I mean, when the time is needed. So I definitely think that helps. Pushing a fighter when he says he's tired, is he really tired? Does he have more to give? So when I'm tired, and I tell my coach that, I think to myself, do I have more to give? Is that what, like someone else would do, or can they push it a little bit more? Why can they push it more? So you kind of study a lot of people, good and bad, and you take from that how you can, and you build on it and you kind of reflect on it as a coach. And you also see, your coaches kind of either make the same mistakes or do the same things you do, which validates your thought process. You know what I mean? So I definitely think it's a very intellectual game by you also being a coach, regardless if you're a high level coach or not. I still think it has its benefits if you can see it.
Well, I can definitely see the benefits, especially long term. And on that note, long term is coaching something you can see yourself doing more of.
Yeah. I was just talking to someone recently about it. I'm like, man, it's funny. I see Mark go from a businessman, company man to a fighter, a martial artist. And I'm like, I'm inspired. I want to do the opposite. I'm a fighter and I want to, I'm motivated to get into business, So maybe opening up some gyms, being a coaching of that sort, offering some of the knowledge that I have that I've gained, because I definitely think it's very unique. It's like restaurants. You can never have too many, in my opinion. I don't think you could have too many coaches either. I don't think there's enough coaching out there because one coach might be good for this kind of clientele. And, realistically, in a city of 70,000 people, is there even 1,000 people doing martial art classes? You know what I mean? Like, is there even that much, or is it just 50 at one gym, 50 at another? You know, so I definitely think there's a lot of opportunity for martial arts to grow. You know, a program that's currently doing that is Alta training program. I don't know if you know anything about that, but they used to be called Whip to Warrior, and now they're doing all sorts of training stuff. And they don't even, some of them, they don't even fight. They literally just train like fighters and do a kind of like a competition at the end, but except of fighting each other, they're grappling with an actual professional fighter or their instructor, or they're hitting pads, you know? So it's like, it's very interesting to see that, because not everyone wants to necessarily fight, but to get them into martial arts, like a fitness class with good technique still, while reinforcing that on a massive scale, I definitely think that's something that I would want to do. So it kills two birds with one stone, you know, coaching as well as business, you know?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head by saying there's really not that many places that are providing these services, and you see just even with pro fighters, guys traveling across the country, trying to find the right fit. So the opportunity is there. Hope it works out for you. Hope November 24th works out for you as well. I'm going to ask you one more before I let you go. The cliche last question of the interview. Just give us a prediction for this fight. How do you see this going out at going down at the PFL Championship?
Um, I see I see a finish. His If you look at his losses, it has predominantly been knockouts. He has one submission, but before that submission was he got finished by it. It was he got rocked on the feet. So statistically speaking, he gets hurt more than he gets submitted, right? Yes, he got submitted, but he still got head kicked first, and then that's what presented the back take, and he got dropped and all that stuff. So and if you look at my finish rate, especially as an amateur, I had, you know, two out of my three wins were by knockout. My pro debut was by a knockout. And pretty much my last 3 or 4 fights, I've either dropped my opponent or hurt them in a fight, just, you know, statistically speaking. So if you kind of put two and two together, I definitely think I could hurt him. I don't know why people tend to look at me and underestimate my punching ability, just because I'm very small in stature and I don't look very physical. So I definitely think if there's any underestimation, it would be from his side, looking at me and not taking me as serious as I take him. Not saying he doesn't take me seriously, but just, you know, going based off looks, especially in the cage, especially in the heat of a fight. You look at me, you're like, oh, there's an opening right there. I'm going to punch him, and that's where I think my fight IQ would set traps and stuff like that. But so I definitely see a potential finish of a knockout or a submission, because I have more submissions than I have knockouts. You know, I don't think people realize I started off grappling first. I thought getting knockouts is a lot quicker. You know, like you go in there, knock someone out, you get the job done. Whereas a submission, you still have to take them down, or you know, there's a little bit of a more of a longer duration for you to attempt a submission versus just a knockout. So I definitely am looking at playing some tricks and games here and setting up some traps and in that cage, in that PFL smart cage, and see if I can outsmart my opponent.
Love it. Looking forward to the fight. Looking forward to the possibility of bantamweight joining the PFL. I do hope it works out for you. Khai, best of luck in the fight. Thanks very much again for the time.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. You have a great day.
You too.